Hi, this is Ryan Thomas Johnson of Carnosaur 2, and you are listening to The Final Gaze.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to The Final Gaze. My name is Harrison.
And I'm Toby.
And it's November, which means, as we said in the previous episode, not 3-4 days ago, it's a new theme, Dismember November. So the words dismember should automatically go right to the movie The Evil Dead, which is exactly what we're going to be covering today. So I want to make an unfortunate announcement. If you're going to hear some noises in the background, that's because my dumbass just put in a load of laundry. So you'll be hearing some rumbling and some Transformers orgy noises coming from in the distance. So that's my apologies.
So recording as usual.
Yep, just recording. All of our recordings have like an accompaniment, sound effect in the background. If it's your puppy, I don't know. It's welcome.
Quarantine.
It's quarantine.
It's COVID is what happened to us.
But all right. So The Evil Dead, 1980?
I have it up.
Yeah.
81.
1981. Okay. So I think you're right. Before we started, you said this might be a pretty short episode, and I think it might. But I think because, what hasn't been said about The Evil Dead? It's a pretty legendary horror movie. So, yeah, let's just jump right into it. When was the first time you watched The Evil Dead?
I think I saw it just before the remake came out.
For the first time?
For the first time. I hadn't seen it. I don't know why I skipped it. I knew that it was a cult movie, but for whatever reason, I never went to it. The VHS cover with the skull, for whatever reason, didn't get to me. Mm-hmm. But when the trailer for the remake came out, I was super interested, and I really wanted to see that movie, so I sought out the first two, which is confusing. We'll get to the second one, but I sought out the first two, and that's when I first watched it, just to prepare for the remake.
Yeah, so then just basically around 2013, 2012 is when you watched it?
It must have been 2013.
Yeah. I can't exactly recall a time when I did watch it for the first time. This was a movie, I think, that I rented as a kid, but just could never get through it just because of how terrifying it was to me. And it legitimately is a horrifying movie, I think. There's a lot of tense, scary moments that still kind of stand up to today, I think. So I can't really recall the first time I ever actually sat down and like watched it all the way through. I want to say maybe I was a teenager in high school, I think.
I wish I had seen it back then.
Yeah. I remember buying so many different versions of the movie. I know there was especially with Evil Dead 2, there was the widescreen edition where it wasn't 4:3, it was the whole 1:8:5:1 aspect ratio. Countless re-releases on DVD. At one point, I did have the Book of the Dead edition, where it looked like the Necronomicon.
Cool. I do remember that.
Yeah, I remember this one time. I was sleeping in my room, and suddenly there was this scream from my DVD collection, because if you push the box in a specific way, it would scream. So what the fuck was that? So it was that fucking Evil Dead. So
no thanks.
But somewhere along the line, I watched this movie all the way through. I remember this is a movie that would be okay, mute button. It's too scary, mute button, But
even this time?
Oh no, not this time. This time at this point, this is a classic to me, and I know where everything is, and I love watching it full blast, So yeah, no, I love this movie, and I'll take any opportunity to watch it, all the way through. So it was a pleasure rewatching it, but last night I was really lazy, and I didn't pull out the 4K version of it, so I watched it on Vudu in 1080p. So I'm whatever, I know this movie.
I mean, I would argue that this movie you don't really need to see in high def, because I feel like it would make it look even worse than it is.
Actually, the 4K version of this and Evil Dead 2 are phenomenal. Considering where, because what they did for the Evil Dead 1 4K version is that, well, a little bit of behind the scenes, they actually shot this on 16 millimeter. And then to release it theatrically, it had to be blown up to 35 millimeter, and that's pretty much like the cut that was used for all these releases. So it was really awesome because they went back to that 16 millimeter, a smaller frame, scanned it in 4K, cleaned it up as best as they could, and I mean, it's 16 millimeter, so it's still gonna look. It has that signature, fuzzy kind of look, but oh god. Like where it counts, it shines, absolutely shines. Considering how low budget it is, how independent it was, just how cheap it looks. It looks beautiful, and I would kind of argue too that I mean, I kind of want to go out and find a VHS copy of this because
I would rather watch a VHS copy. I think out of any kind of transfer or anything, because I feel like that's just. This kind of movie, that's the feeling you get, is grimy and grungy and dirty. So when it's super cleaned up in HD, for me, I feel like that's when you really can see the seams of everything, and it kind of loses that charm of being so low budget.
Yeah, but I guess it's something like, as far as like a an archived version of it, it's the best it could ever look. And for some reason I actually really agree with you on that, but. For some, I don't know, it just looks... I'm not saying it looks like it was shot yesterday. It's definitely a product of its time. Oh, and I don't know if you even hear that, but my clothes are done in the washer. There's a jingle playing right now. But it's beautiful. If an old movie looking this great, especially in the way it was made, is magical. So, and I don't know. I hope that a steelbook edition of the 4K came out for both 1 and 2 just this past month, so who the hell, I don't know what's going to come next at all. So I didn't buy it. I don't think I needed it, but I kind of want it. We'll see in the saga of my collector mindset. We'll see what happens next. But all right, you know what time it is?
I sure do.
Cue the music. And now it's time for our favorite part of the podcast, Nerdy Film Score Talk. Alrighty, Nerdy Film Score Talk. We have a few tracks to talk about here. First of all, let's talk a little bit about the composer, Joseph LaDuca.
Who's done a whole lot of nothing.
From
what I can see.
Oh, for me, he's done a lot.
A whole lot of nothing as far as a whole lot of like CB kind of level movies or TV shows. I mean, I saw he does a lot of 90s TV shows and a lot of straight to DVD things.
Because for me, I think I knew him more. I guess I kind of knew that he did Evil Dead, but it wasn't really a score that stood out to me that much. But for me, his standout score, and my personal favorite of his, is Brotherhood of the Wolf. That was definitely a random-ass French soundtrack that was on my iPod, back in the day. And I actually haven't listened to it in a while, but that was a soundtrack and a movie that was on repeat a lot, just because...
I do remember that movie. Oddly good, from what I remember.
It is strangely one of those, like, it's more action, but there are horror elements, so I'm not even sure if it qualifies to be on this podcast, but I think it'd be very interesting to talk about, because there is technically a monster in it, so... but yeah, no, Joseph LaDuca, I think he's... I think it's absolutely crazy that he sort of has jumped from this, and of course, I think it's one of those things that I love in the Hollywood stories that I hear all the time, that, some friends... in the early days, got together, made a movie, and then they just kept, collaborating with each other as their careers got bigger and bigger and bigger. Because, Sam Raimi, Rob Tapert, Bruce Campbell, they launched themselves with this movie. And then, they brought Joseph LaDuca along for the rest of the Evil Dead movies, Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness. But
it looks like he got downgraded on Spider-Man 2?
which I'm totally
Looks like he
fine
was an
with that.
assistant on there.
Yeah, I think that's just totally fun. I mean, I imagine because, Danny Elfman, that's his score. I mean, until the third one, but,
Yeah.
but Joseph LoDuca also did the scores for Xena Warrior Princess, and that was a series that was produced by Sam Raimi. Did he do Hercules? I feel
He
maybe
did, and he did Young Hercules as well.
Oh, okay. And then I'm actually really, I was really excited when I found out that he went on to do the score for the Ash versus Evil Dead series, which I love his work on that because he gives Ash an actual theme this time around. So
I've only seen like the first 2 episodes.
I've only seen the first 2 seasons, and it's crazy because I own them, so I could finish them off, and I will. But I do like them. They're good splatterfest. They're just as kooky as 2 and 3. So
Yeah.
But yeah, I love Joseph LoDuca. So we're gonna jump into his score right now. We have 4 tracks here for you here, and he only wrote 3 of them. So the first track I want to reference is called "Bridge Out." So the one note I had for this, and I would not be surprised if they did actually record a kitten meowing, but there's like this creepy meowing kitty sound that kind of sounds like more of a siren. I wanted to make mention of that because it's super creepy, but also kind of funny.
I think they use a similar thing in the remake.
Oh yeah, they
So
actually
it
just
sounds a lot scarier.
Yeah, because they actually use a siren. I remember I watched a live performance of his score, and you just see that this woman in the background like, yeah, really winding up a siren, which I cannot wait to talk about that score.
That is a good one. That is a really good one.
Rock Banya, so we'll get to him. And then I if there's one thing I can say I don't like about the score, it's going to be when the synth parts really stick out like a sore thumb. Because the moment we see when the bridge is out, there's like this little synth sting. It's super silly. I know it's a product of its time, but yeah.
I mean, I'll show my hand right now. I don't think the score is very good. It suffers from the thing, I think, like the same as, was it Donnie Darko, or no, it was Trick or Treat, where it's like the music, it'll fit the movie, but there's long portions of it where nothing's happening, and and when it does happen, it is just a couple synth notes or like a cat or something. I got a lot of like Joseph Bishara out of some of it, where it's just the strings and things. So I never like soundtracks that I can't listen to separately as well. I know when it comes to movies, it's supposed to work with the movie, and I think it does. But I mean, there's not a track on here that I would want to listen to. Like, I listened to it, but I was like, this is boring as fuck.
Yeah. Which is funny that you say Joseph Bishara, because the next track is called Rape of the Vines. And this is where that thing you're talking about comes into play here. You know, the plucking and the screeching of the string sections. Except I think, of course, Joseph Bishara wasn't a thing then. I think, if anything, Joseph LoDuca was definitely paying his homage to Christoph Penderecki. So there's definitely just a lot of wildness happening with that score, with this track. But, you know, Rape of the Vines. Quite a title. Quite a moment in the movie.
Yes.
Yeah. And the next track we're going to talk about is called Love Never Dies, and it's probably my favorite track on the score. And, you know, my favorite part is the synth part with the long whole notes, and this part happens when Ash is digging the grave for his girlfriend. So I don't know. By itself, maybe I can understand why it wouldn't be as appealing. But for me, music-wise, it just fits so perfectly, and it sounds strangely spooky and sad at the same time. Just because it's obviously a somber moment. He didn't want to cut his girlfriend up, but he's still going to bury her. And finally, I think this movie made this theme iconic. It's definitely not a song that is in here because it's scary. Of course, I'm referring to Charleston, or as people have been calling it in my recent dig into the song, The Charleston. And it's our iconic end credit song of the movie. And it's like a jazzy instrumental song, and I think it's great. I think it's absolutely it's a juxtaposition of the horrors we just witnessed, and suddenly here's this jazzy song that you can dance to. And it plays on a pretty intense scene too, when the blood is spilling over the projector, and it's like, and not that this movie was ever funny, because the second one is where we get into Three Stooges territory. But
I'm gonna beg to differ there.
Oh, really?
I think this movie's fucking not ever. Even the first time I saw it, not once was I scared. Not once did I feel terror or anything like that.
Oh my God!
Immediately, I felt like this is a slapstick comedy.
Wow!
Like nothing in that movie. I don't know. That's so funny that you say that, because even watching it this time, I'm like, I get why they remade it with that comedy aspect. And I think I read somewhere too where they were meaning to make a scary movie. But the reception was more, it was funny. And so when they made the sequel, they kind of went with that, even though they did not purposely do it in the first one.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's fucking hilarious. Like, I don't know how you would, the way they're like cackling and things, I guess we'll get into it after the score talk, but I don't know. I'll have to disagree with that one.
Yeah.
I feel like now that Charleston song kind of fits because it is really corny and funny.
It's just, for me, I think, I don't know, it was, I think maybe we just had a different upbringing with it, because I'm actually was kind of caught off guard when you actually you haven't watched it till the 2010s. Yeah. So this was definitely like with me early on in the 90s, going all the, I mean, again, I haven't really fully, I was totally afraid of this movie as a kid, and as an adult, of course, I appreciate it. But yeah, no, I mean, I feel if anything, this was just the straight up horror movie, and they didn't truly make it a comedy until the second one. So, and whether it's funny because of how it represents itself, like with the creepy ass doll possessed woman who's just laughing all the time, I can understand how maybe modern audiences would think, oh, that's just stupid, and it's probably made funnier by the fact that Bruce Campbell slaps the fuck out of her. So,
but I even think their performances are like super over the top, to the point where I feel like they purposely did it that way. Like no acting in the movies is like realistic acting. You know, no one acts like a normal human being. Everyone's like at 100 the whole time. So I don't know. It's hard for me, at least, to get that they were trying to make something super scary. I don't know.
And this actually will perfectly segue into what I wanted to talk about score-wise for the last thing. I was able to catch a screening of this last year at the Film Bar, because last year, I think it was October. Place. Yeah, last year, actually, they did this really super awesome thing. Joseph LaDuca, obviously a bit more well-established, has some money in his pocket, actually went back to the original movie and rescored the entire thing with his modern interpretation of it. And the fellows at Blue Underground decided to mix that music back into the movie. So completely eliminating the score that we're covering now with a more modern take on the score by the original composer. And it was absolutely amazing. I will never forget that. I actually really, really want that movie so badly, because not only did they do like a whole, not only just put new music in there, they did a whole remix of the soundtrack. They made it a proper 5.1, so things were just flying left and right in the rear speakers, and the new score written by Joseph Luduca made it scarier. For me, made it scarier. You know, there were some moments where I feel if Sam Raimi was a bit more directly involved, like if this was the first time they're releasing it, there would have been moments I would have been like, yeah, we should probably cut this music out, make the scene breathe. But a majority of the music in there just made it better, I feel. And actually, that score, it's called Evil Dead Reimagined, is available on YouTube. So if you want to go listen to it, you can. You can just imagine it. You can imagine playing it, the music playing to certain scenes. But yeah, I thought that was absolutely fantastic. But kind of going into what you were saying, obviously, people who are going to that screening want to be there. Yeah. It's not going to be like, you know, they usually ask the question like, so who's seen this for the first time? Nobody raised their hand. So obviously there were fans there, and it's the fan reception that made it amazing. Just because, yeah, probably to a fan, it is not so much a horror movie anymore. It's a good romp. It's a good fun moment where you can nervously laugh at the scary parts, and even the parts that I wouldn't think to laugh at are now funny because of my memories of watching that movie with the fan of hardcore, a group of hardcore fans. So
and that's always great. I definitely appreciate the difference watching something alone than watching something with a huge room full of like-minded people.
Like for a good example is people like laughed their asses off when Ash was trying to give Scotty from some water, and he was just fucking dead.
Yeah.
You know? It's like, yeah, we're gonna get out of here. We're gonna live a happy life, and he's just fucking dead.
Because it's funny.
Yeah, but you know, back in the day, little kid me, I'm like, oh my god, and I will even say now, the basement scene when he goes down there, it's scary. I have to admit that the basement scene with Ash going down there, looking at all the gourds and all that shit, scary. No,
nothing about this movie was scary to me.
Jesus Christ.
And I don't know, and I feel like that's a very popular opinion as well, because I mean the whole reason Evil Dead 2 is slapstick is because of the last 20 minutes of this movie was nothing but that, and that's the only thing people remember. And none of that is scary. I mean, the last 20 minutes of this movie is like, it just reminded me of Dead Alive, right? It's just ridiculous. It's just a special effects extravaganza, and it looks really fun, and I like the chase scene with Bruce Campbell and all the little shticks that they do, but I was laughing. Like, I thought it was it was gross, but I also thought it was funny. So I don't know. I'm not getting any terror from this movie. And again, I'll say, without a doubt, in my opinion, you can hate me as much as you want, anyone. I think 2013 is a hell of a better movie.
Oh yeah, 2013 definitely has its strengths, and of course we will definitely talk about that at the end of the month. Yeah. And honestly, I think these are all great movies. You know, even Army
it's
of Darkness.
Entertaining. It is entertaining. I did when I started the movie, I was like, okay, let's get this over with. I remember not thinking it was.
Oh man.
Yeah,
I just breaks my heart. I got to be very honest. This is hurting to hear, because this is just a movie that I absolutely love, that I find to be absolutely terrifying.
I was checking time, like the last.
And this movie's 85 minutes too. So
I know, and I thought that too. I thought that too, and I saw it, and I'm like, oh, this can go by fast, but I just was not really I just was like, okay, let's just get this over with. I remember everything about it pretty much. But when it started, I actually got into it. Like, I was like, okay, actually, this is moving pretty fast. It is pretty good. But I was liking it because I thought it was charming, because I knew the story behind them making it, and And I just thought it was fucking funny. Like, it felt like a bunch of college people being stupid and just having fun. And so that kind of kept it going for me. I will say the last 20 minutes was a little exhausting. Just because I felt like it kept fucking going. And it really just is like splatter scene after splatter scene, which is totally fine.
Yeah, actually, and it's funny because, like, I'm the complete opposite. I think every moment after when he rises out of the cellar with the shells is probably my favorite part of the movie. Just because...
And I think it's a lot of people's.
Yeah. And especially when it comes to just the scenes where it's just by himself. And he's, like, slowly kind of, his cheese is definitely sliding off his cracker crazy, you know what I mean? So, like, and I think that's where the filmmakers got pretty inventive, too, where they definitely pulled all the tricks. They definitely, a lot of tricky camera work. I mean, it's such simple things, too, but it elevates his madness in a way that movies of the time probably... cheap. This could have easily have been a cheap fucking movie, midnight movie. Could have disappeared after one night playing at a drive-in. But this is the one movie that I'm aware of that has simply survived based on the fact that it is just being held together by nothing but creativity, grit, and passion. And, I'm getting, like, this is... great, because now we have two movies on this spectrum. One, Evil Dead. Great, amazing, legendary, classic movie. Inspires me as a filmmaker, And then, our good old classic movie we watched, Camp 139.
How can you even talk about them in the same...
Because they are on opposite spectrums, where the movie is... Evil Dead is amazing. Camp 139 is one huge piece of shit. But they could have almost easily switched sides.
I do not think so.
That is how easily Evil Dead could have become shitty.
No, because the people who made...
of people who got together to make a movie.
No.
That's all I'm trying to say.
Because the group behind Evil Dead were talented people. And although they had very little budget and just, 13 crew members, they made a movie that has lasted until now. Was how many years? 40 years later. Camp 31 had very little talent behind it. In fact, I would say none. So I don't believe that they could have switched places. There was no one making Camp 39 that was as talented as Sam Raimi or Bruce Campbell. Or even that Joseph DeLuca person. So I will have to argue that point.
Yeah. I'm just saying... Both had the same passions, both had the same, how would you say, opportunities. One succeeded, one did not. The only
similarities is that they were a group of people who wanted to make a movie, but I think...
And that's all it takes. And both inspire me, both endlessly inspire me. And I know you probably don't understand why I love Camp 139, because I also hate it.
I mean, I know why you like it is because you love... filmmaking, and so to you're seeing more the people making the movie than I feel like you're watching the actual movie, where I'm rating the fucking movie that they made. Like I'm not grading Evil Dead on them making the movie. I'm grading it on the movie that they created, because at the end of the day, that was their mission. Whether they failed or succeeded at it, Camp 31 definitely failed. Evil
and
Dead,
I think our ratings reflected that.
Yeah.
But both are just, I'm not, they're all only on that specific scale, where one is absolutely amazing and the other is fun fucking complete piece of shit. So but again, this is a terrific example, just because this is what happens when it can go really right, and this is what happens when it can go really, really wrong. And this one just happens to be one that is right, amazing, legendary, timeless, and it's still relevant even today. Like I said, it got a steelbook release again.
Talent, because there was talent on that shoot.
But yeah, well, I mean, we kind of jumped into it, but the Evil Dead. Gosh, how do we start with this now? Like,
I forgot how similar the remake is to the original. Even to the point, I forgot there was even a sister in the original, like that sister plot line, and that is like almost word for word, like scene for scene what happens in the remake, but they kind of do it's a she's a drug addict twist on it, but they do the whole get me out of here, brother, save me, and she's the first one to go. She's the first one in the basement. Of course, the tree rape, which holds up surprisingly. I mean, obviously the new one has better effects, but I think the tree rape is still pretty. I mean, again, I was never scared, but kind of gross, and just like it felt weird and inappropriate, especially for like kind of the today's headlines and things like that. But I would say that's one of the better scenes in the movie.
Yeah, definitely. I think the most disturbing, like when people refer to this movie, they automatically think about the tree rape scene, and it's definitely a scene that has been most censored in other countries. Like they'll take the face melting, they'll take the pencil being stabbed into the ankle, but tree rape,
it is rough.
Cut it out.
I will say it is rough.
Yeah. But again that comes down to also the fact that they perfectly to the T utilize reverse photography.
I did notice that, but they did pretty well with it, though. I mean, as well as they could.
And it's funny because out of all the music, that sounded the most out of place, because it literally sounds like some sort of Brazilian jam session. I don't know if you were able to hear the music in that scene a lot, but it was like, what the fuck is this? You listen to it by yourself, you're like, oh, so this was an Evil Dead. Interesting.
Isn't that the one that was kind of like the Joseph Bishara track?
Not really. It just sounds like someone brought a microphone into a village in Brazil and started recording a music session. It was really bizarre. Yeah. But I mean, Bruce Campbell playing Ashley J. Williams. Williams. I guess men were named Ashley back then.
I always thought that was kind of an odd choice, but it definitely has singled him out. Like you, I think any horror person will know who Ash is, whether you've seen Evil Dead or not. I mean, Ashley is a cool way to get someone's character named Ash, because the name Ash is a pretty cool name.
Yeah.
And I also wonder if it's a Alien reference, because they do the same thing with Bruce Campbell, is you don't really know that he's the main character, and you don't really, I got it really this time, you don't really know that he's going to be the hero at the end in this movie. So like that doesn't come till the end. Just like Ripley in the original Alien, where she really wasn't the main character, she just kind of happened to survive and you followed her for the end. Yeah. I thought they did a similar thing here pretty well, so I always wondered if that maybe was kind of a nod to that, if he did that on purpose.
Yeah, because I mean, as everyone knows, this is unique in having the quote unquote final girl being a man. It wasn't a last stand with the female character fending for her life. It was a male fending for his life, which maybe that is the whole flipping the whole script on its head kind of a thing. But I feel at this point this movie is so well documented. Almost all the filmmakers involved have biographies out. You think that they would at least would have had like, well, because I was about to say that. I mean, was Ashley J. Williams supposed to be a female, and they just said, "Fuck it, he's Ash now."
Well, if they had. Well, I guess that doesn't matter. They have like this, if they were trying to do a brother-sister thing, but it could have been two sisters. But also, I mean, so one guy and like four women.
Right. Which is why I think they did the proper thing with the remake.
I agree. I definitely agree.
You know what my one favorite shot of the movie is? It is the most, I think it's creative, but it's so simple. It's a scene where Ash and Cheryl drive up to the bridge, and Ash walks off, and the camera is at a tilt, and he kind of walks, and he goes walking from straight to being like at a Dutch angle. That is, I think that is my favorite shot out of the whole movie. And it was so simple because they just parked on like a little hill, and they balance the camera so it would be equal with the car on the hill, so it would look like it was, proper. And then he walks in and he just walks at an angle. That's like the most off-putting, creepy shot of the whole movie.
I think my favorite shot is when they first get to the cabin and you see the moon and like the dark, smoky clouds come over it. I feel like that's the most, I don't know, classic haunted house, spooky feeling that I get, gothic.
And that's one of the things that I don't mind in the in the later releases. Again, I think it takes away from its original like do-it-yourself kind of origin, but you look at the early DVDs, the first DVD releases, VHS copies especially, you can see the matte box around the moon.
I saw that the first time I watched it, and I definitely remember that specifically. And I looked for it this time, and I didn't see it.
Yeah, the later releases, they've fixed that. And I think those kind of fixes are okay. It makes sense.
It's okay.
Yeah.
And it still looks pretty good. I definitely liked it.
Yeah. So other than I don't think they altered it too much, to be honest. I think obviously it's 2020 now, and I think the most complete cuts of it are still readily available now. And it wasn't even made legal in Germany till 2016, the 2000s.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So that's just how, intense this movie is. And this is actually the movie that started the whole video nasties thing in the UK. So what a time to be alive, though.
I also really love these shots for me hold up today for sure with modern filmmaking is the zooms through the forest, or when it's zooming over the bog or swamp or whatever. Because it looks so smooth. Something about it just like, I don't know. It still holds up really, really well. And
that's what I love about these filmmakers. And it's such a simple tactic. They just got a 2x4,
they're on
slap
a
the camera on there, and then they ran through the forest.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, they use much more modern technology for the remake, which we'll get into at the end of the month. But
I think it was like on a zip line.
Yeah. Which, okay, sure, you got the money, might as well do that. But, there's just something about this movie. Again, it's definitely comes a close second to movies that inspired me. First obviously being, well, not even maybe film-wise, maybe director-wise, Robert Rodriguez. Sam Raimi comes in again. He tackles the horror aspect, whereas Robert Rodriguez comes in on the action part. So, just inspiring. I mean, and again, I don't think we're really going to go into the trivia of it really, because there really isn't. I mean, obviously, again, what hasn't been said about this movie, if anything, I think it's more about how it has affected us, or I don't know, maybe me, because I've been sitting on this movie for about 30 years.
I mean, I don't feel bad saying it, but I mean, honestly, because of the remake and the sequel, which we'll get into it, basically remakes this movie in the first 30, 40 minutes. It's like a remake of the original Evil Dead. Because of that, it almost makes this specific movie inconsequential. Like, you really don't need to go watch it. You could watch the second one and have the entire story and really not have missed anything and get actually higher production value. But that's, it's a lot funnier if you're looking for the slapsticky horror. If you want the horror that the original Evil Dead is supposed to give you, I think the remake kind of does that. So when I was watching the movie, I was like, it's a good movie, and I see why it's a classic still. But because of, I think, those two other movies, it's almost like, I don't know. I get why it has a very specific fan base.
And it's also really funny because that fan base, because Evil Dead 2 is a bit more widely available. So people watched Evil Dead 2 before watching Evil Dead. So when Evil Dead became available, there was an opportunity to watch the first Evil Dead movie. Fans of the second one jumped at it because oh my God, this is an amazing, funny movie. I can't wait to watch the first one and see what happened. And then they would be so shocked to find that, shit, this is the fucking spooky movie,
Well, see, I would have been pissed because I'd be like, shit, I already saw this movie and then a whole lot more. If I had gone from Evil Dead 2 to Evil Dead 1.
And the whole reason behind all that is so stupid because it had to do with they sold the distribution rights to New Line, but they didn't sell the character rights to New Line. So they had the character rights, but not, the movie rights. So they couldn't make a direct sequel to that. So that's why the first 5-10 minutes in the second one is a little recap of the first. And it's great because actually in a recent video that came out, I think this year, or last year, because he was doing the press release for the Evil Dead Reimagined, because he took that cut on a drive-in tour across the nation. And it was here at... God, not here. I think it was in Prescott, the drive-in in Prescott where they played it. But Bruce Campbell said that, so a fan asked him, so what's why this with the opening scene of Evil Dead 2 or something? And he said, yeah, this and that. And he suggested if you really want to watch Evil Dead to Evil Dead 2, the moment when Ash gets hit by the force or whatever, just cut immediately to Evil Dead 2 when he gets hit by that forest thingy. And, he gets pushed back in the forest. And then there's your bridge. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll consider that this time around. So, but... Sure.
But as a movie-going experience, it's not the best connection. I think I'd rather just start from Evil Dead 2 and move forward. Because, really, when they recap Evil Dead 1, they just take the best parts of Evil Dead 1 and wrap it into... Is it really only the first 10 minutes? I remember it being like half the fucking movie.
No, it's like, gosh, literally with like 10 minutes, and then he gets smacked up against the tree.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. It could be wrong. I don't know. I watched it last year. Because, again, they released that as a 4K version, and that, too, is a great transfer. Like... Oh, God, they definitely put a lot of love and care into these transfers, and it still kind of maintains that rough quality, but it's just better. Especially the sound mixes they do. Fantastic. But, gosh, I think it's just great to see where the filmmakers we love today, to see where they came from.
Started.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do agree with that. No Ted Raimi.
Yeah. Huh?
No Ted Raimi.
What do you mean?
Ted Raimi, Sam Raimi's brother, who he usually filmed. He's not in Evil Dead, is he?
Oh, God, yeah. He's like half of the Shemps.
Or does he play... Oh, okay. Well.
Yeah.
So, no, he's not in the movie.
Oh, yeah, he's in the movie. He plays...
he's in the movie, but you wouldn't know that it's Ted Raimi. But,
if you definitely know and love Sam Raimi, especially now, I think people started... recognize him more for his later works, and suddenly he's like, who's this
I think Spider-Man is what really put him on the map.
You're like, who's this guy? Who's this quirky little office assistant to J. Jonah Jameson? And it's like, oh, that's Ted Raimi. And then you go back and you realize, okay, Ted Raimi is like the Clint Howard,
Yeah.
And I think that's so cute. And yeah, he is in this movie. You can definitely tell which Shemps he is.
I didn't at all.
We're saying Shemps. That's what the crew nicknamed all of the possessed people, Shemps. And the story goes is that they finished the movie and they realized that there's a lot of pickups that need to be done, but everyone had a miserable experience on this set. So that when they were done, they just fucking left. So they came back and they just had people stand in for other actors, as whether it was real people, like non-possessed people or demonic people, and they put them in the makeup. And of course, you gotta put the little brother in the movie. So yeah, that's how he stood in there. And specifically, I think it's the moment after she gets shot with the shotgun right in the face, and then the version that stands up in the window, that's Ted Raimi.
Okay.
So
I didn't.
He just has, he has a specific look, and you can see it underneath the makeup now and then. So, but there's 20, 25 people credited as fake Shemps in the credits. So, yeah,
that's cool.
But this is exactly how I want my career to shoot off. I want there to be a core group of dedicated people that come in and we make this huge splash with this one movie, and then it's like, whoa, keep coming back. We got another movie. Yeah. Come on in. You know what I mean? At least that's what I hope.
Yeah,
will happen.
I feel like that's the filmmaker's dream, right? Any filmmaker's dream is you're gonna make a thing with your friends, and hopefully you're gonna keep your friends, the rest of your career. Sometimes that doesn't work out.
Danny Elfman and Sam Raimi, they made up, but there was a moment. And gosh, who's the longest? I want to say it's John Williams and Steven Spielberg, but there was a moment where Thomas Newman did a movie for him, Bridge of Spies. So, and I'm not, Joseph Luke Duca definitely didn't do all of Sam Raimi's movies. I mean, I love the fact that Alan Silvestri did Quick and the Dead. It's so random.
Is that Sharon Stone?
Yeah, Sharon Stone and Gene Hackman,
Okay.
Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Leo.
It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I just remember Sharon Stone on a horse with a gun.
Again, Sony movie, and they did a terrific job on a 4K transfer with that. It's amazing. It literally is. That one looks like it was literally shot maybe like last year. So, but I think it's pretty obvious. I think we both love this movie, despite the fact that we have kind of differing views on what it.
I think we love it just in different ways.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad movie. I definitely recommend this movie. So
yeah, and God, I mean, I bet they definitely hit a home run in 1980 when, the master of terror, Stephen King, gave them that one review, and became
which is like all you need.
which is it got the approval from the master of horror. What was it? The most ferociously original scary movie or something, and that became like the tagline or the tagline for it. But this is definitely one of those movies that I really wish I could have been around in those days to like experience it.
See.
Yeah, that's why
definitely.
That's why that's why every once in a while I'll find myself watching that audio recording on YouTube of someone brought like an audio recorder into a screening of Halloween in 1978.
Yeah,
so
that's good.
I cannot imagine just what is that, like 7, 8, like 3 years later, audiences watch this. Now that for the reviews, I have the movie on in the background, and we're on that scene where that lady is biting her hand off, and I'm thinking like people were screaming at Michael Myers just sitting up in the background. What the hell how were people reacting to scenes like that?
Yeah.
Although
I think both of them, what's the word? Give you draws two very different feelings. I think emotions, whereas Michael Myers is terror and suspense, whereas this is more shock.
Yeah.
Like you're screaming, I guess, because it's gross and in your face. I don't know. I don't like see the same kind of terror. I feel like people screaming at this because it's just gross and kind of like.
Because like what
louder?
Yeah, like what came out before this? That was like what? Like Dawn of the Dead. That was pretty. That was pretty gory.
I mean, Alien came out before.
Yeah, and for me, that only has like 2 or 3 scenes of like whoa, and they were actually cut pretty quick. I mean,
I think Evil Dead could have used a little bit more cuts.
Yeah. Oh no, hell no. Oh God.
Some of it I was like, okay, come on, like it loses the charm if you do it too long, because then you really see the seams.
I really want to watch this. Oh God, there's just a country out there who's notorious for butchering horror movies, and apparently this cut is it's unintentionally hilarious because of how they cut 11 minutes out of this movie, The Evil Dead. And they say people who watch it are like, this isn't even, like, it may as well be like a kid's movie at that point, And I just want to watch movies like that, because that's the one thing I like about because Arrow Academy, which is an offshoot of Arrow Video, did a release of Kevin Smith's second movie, Mallrats. And on a third disc, they have just a standard edition of the TV cut of Mallrats, and all the swear words are hilariously replaced with, like, these really stupid, like, replacements. Like, I remember watching an FX version of From Dusk Till Dawn. The titty twister, you know what it was called? Kitty Twister.
I think you told us. Yeah, the kitty twister,
which
is like even worse.
What? You say, But, yeah. Censored stuff can be funny. But I'm glad that this movie exists. So, well, shall we get into closing thoughts?
Sure.
All right. Well, what rating should we do?
I want to do, like, how many Lindas do you give? Because they say Linda so many times.
Okay.
In a portion of this movie.
All right. So how many... Oh, wait, no. my bad. I jumped ahead. Well, I think I already know what you think, but what are your final thoughts on The Evil Dead?
I think it is definitely a recommendable movie and definitely watchable. But I think I was watching it more as because I understood where it came from, and that it's a classic, and I was more thinking of the time that it came out and the people making it and things like that, which I feel adds more to the movie as just a movie in and of itself. I think it's such a simple plot really aids it so that it doesn't ever really get boring. And I don't know, it's one of those movies that keeps ramping up, so you're never bored. But I will say it's not for everyone. Will say that modern audiences, a lot of them probably wouldn't like it, especially if they saw the remake.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is one of those movies that I highly recommend as a movie fan. Like if you're someone who loves film, I think this is a great movie for you to watch. And it's definitely one of those movies where you can be like, oh hey, have you want to see something ridiculous?
Mm-hmm.
Let's show you The Evil Dead, and like, you know, a drinking game or things like that. I think this is great for that. So I really do like this movie. I don't think it's a horror. It's definitely a horror movie. I don't think it's scary.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you should go to this movie like looking for a really horrific movie, like scary movie. It's definitely more for me laughs and just gross out moments.
Mm-hmm.
But all in all, it's a good movie.
Yeah, and you know, this definitely made that coveted list of like 1,001 movies you need to see before you die. So it's not like it's shunned. So I think people.
No, it's definitely not shunned. But I mean, how many people really talk about this movie anymore? I mean, when I hear about two people talking about The Evil Dead, they're talking about Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness.
Which, you know, I actually just find truly inspiring too. Like I know that the TV series ended, but this thing got a TV show spinoff, 2 sequels.
Mm-hmm. Possibly
remake,
another sequel.
Yeah, which I'm kind of, I don't know, we'll see how that goes. I mean, of course I'll go watch it.
What is it, whatever they are in a city,
which I think sounds very interesting. I'm definitely down with that.
Could be fun.
Yeah,
could be fun. I'm getting like Poltergeist 3 vibes,
which I've never seen the second or the third, so but I know
not missing a whole lot, but the third takes place in a skyrise.
Yeah, unfortunately, I only kind of know that movie because of that little TV show, Cursed Films, about how the girl died before she finished it.
It is pretty sad, yeah.
Yeah. But, well, I love The Evil Dead. I think it is a terrific movie. I think it is definitely, it's inspiring. I think this definitely is a movie that inspired a generation of filmmakers. I might even say it could even have been, you know, maybe even kind of pushed Peter Jackson towards some things, you know, because he definitely kind of upped the game with gore with his movie, because this came out well before Dead Alive, but definitely, you know, he had his movies too around this time. He had, was it Bad Taste and Meet the Feebles and all that stuff.
Do you think Evil Dead got to New Zealand, even if it didn't get to the whole United States when it came out?
I feel that Peter Jackson would have definitely been on the in crowd, you know, like, oh, there's this movie, The Evil Dead. We got to find it. We got to watch it. Because, you know, back then, I think the only way people were able to actually watch this movie was like a black market VHS bootleg copy.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, pretty much.
But, yeah, God, I think it is scary. I think in certain moments it is definitely scary. And, yeah, it is funny, too. And I think you're right, it is funny because it is over the top, you know? But, you know, I don't think that makes it a comedy. Like, if anything, despite the fact that the doll face demon...
The images and the audio and the action is what makes it fucking funny. And not just the makeup, like, it's and not just the acting, it's everything put together is what makes it hilarious to me.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, despite the fact that I know that the doll face demon is definitely, like, laughable, but...
I mean, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about everything.
I'm talking about that. Specifically when a moment comes where she's getting her head hit by the big old lumber. You know, you can just see her wig flopping, and she's just laughing, you know. But, yeah, I think it is definitely not a top 10, but definitely a top 20 for me. And it's going to be kind of way up there, you know, for me. Kind of like 19 or 18, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's about it, really. One little tidbit I forgot. I did like this. I never noticed it until maybe within the past 5 years. I think it was when I think it was when the 4K came out. I watched it with subtitles. I never heard this until now. But when Scotty is dismembering his girlfriend, the demon is screaming, "No, don't do it. You love her." And I'm like, whoa.
I heard "No, you don't do it."
Yeah. He's saying, "Don't do it. You love her." And I'm like, whoa.
And did that get you?
No, but it was like, damn, that sucks. Because it's like, I think that's the one thing I like too, is that the fact that the demons definitely fuck with Ash Williams hardcore.
Yeah, I definitely do like that aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I love it. So, out of 5 Lindas, how many Lindas do you give The Evil Dead?
I'm gonna give it a 4.
A 4?
A 4. I know you keep saying it's inspirational, and I understand why. And I think it is. When I was watching, I was like, how fun would this experience be to go out and do something like this?
Apparently, it wasn't very fun.
Apparently, it wasn't fun at all. But I mean, I guess their hard work, obviously paid off for them. But it is an entertaining movie. I think just because I'm saying it's funny and not scary doesn't mean it's not a good movie and that you're not going to get some thrills out of it. I definitely think there's some thrilling parts, and definitely when the action picks up, it's fun. And I think the slapstick kind of helps it towards the end because it's just kind of one joke after the other. When I say joke, it's just like
set piece.
Set piece. Yeah. One set piece after another. What crazy special effects can we do? What new goo can we squirt out of this person's severed arm?
I do like that they use live rounds.
This is fucking hilarious. That was hilarious. I mean, the arm and like the white goo coming out of it.
Yeah. Which,
gold.
Again, it's simple. 2% milk.
Simple, I think, is this movie. I think what works the best for it is that it is so simple. The plot is very tight. And there's just not a whole lot you need to think about. There's not a whole lot that they have to explain. So it's a lot of fun. And those are kind of the best movies to me. Yeah. Simple plots. Scream is a very simple plot. When you really think about it, so much fun. So much you can read out of it. So I'm going to give it a 4.
Nice. Well,
the music sucks, though.
Music. Have you listened to the new score yet? The Evil Dead Reimagined?
No, but now I want to.
You definitely should. And just imagine
it.
Yeah. So Blue Underground is waiting for the distribution rights from Lionsgate to expire, and that's when they're going to come in and re-release it with the new score. So
cool. Yeah, I definitely want to take a listen to that.
It had like a vinyl release, looked really cool, but it's sold out so quickly. But I think it's pretty obvious what I am going to give this movie. I'm going to give this 5 Lindas out of 5 because I just love this movie. I love what it represents. I love almost every scene in it. I think it is definitely a masterclass on how to do this type of movie. So
which is so funny to say because it is so fucking amateur. It's so weird to be like, this is a masterclass in how to make this movie, when really they, in my opinion, failed at what they were trying to do, which was make a really scary movie. But I don't know, like they managed to do everything kind of right, but like in the most difficult ways. So it's funny that everyone, you look at this movie and be like, well, that's genius. Like that's what a genius would do. When really, when you're reading the behind the scenes, like they were kind of fumbling along the whole way and like had to constantly substitute this for that. So I just think it's really funny when you can be like, oh, that's a masterclass in this, when it was like a bunch of mistakes.
Because like this movie is literally held together by passion
paper
for the
clips,
art, paper clip, not even paper clips, like sticky notes. This thing, it's inspiring. It's and it is kind of a masterclass, and the masterclass is you suffer for your art, and hopefully you
perseverance.
Yeah,
perseverance. The masterclass.
Oh yeah,
perseverance.
Don't give up. If you absolutely have a passion for what you're doing, you won't ever give up on it. And they didn't, and because of that, look at what it is. Look who they are today. Bruce Campbell is Bruce Campbell's Bruce Campbell. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. What did he do recently?
Sam Raimi?
Yeah. Oh God, he just did the Oz.
I don't know. Was that the last thing he did? Which was not good.
Well,
he's produced a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
I will say Bruce Campbell has skated along as far as a career. Like, he's mostly guest of the week on like certain TV shows and cameos in movies. I think really it's his like specific fan base that for some reason love the fuck out of him. I personally think I don't think he's a very good actor. And I think that's what made the end of Evil Dead was it was just so ridiculous that it worked for that. But like when I see him in something like I mean, even in the Spider-Man cameos, I didn't really like him.
Yeah, the French guy was a bit much.
That is the one I'm thinking about, yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, that's been us talking The Evil Dead. Join us next week as we discuss the sequel, Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn.
I forget that it has that subtitle.
Right. We'll talk about that with the remake. And, yeah, no, I'll have to remember it. Dead by Dawn, overdub. I'll try to remember it. But yeah, if you you can please follow us on all the social medias. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook. Give us a rating. If we're doing horribly, give us 1 star. If we're doing really good, maybe give us 4 or 5 stars. We want to hear your input. Did we have any new followers this week?
Not that I could see, unless I missed one.
Let's see here. We have... I don't think we had any new followers.
Yeah, I didn't see any.
Yeah, the ones it was the ones we covered last week. So if you want us to discuss your Instagram or whatever, give us a follow. We'll look through your Instagram and give you an honest review. Final Gaze covers people. So
yeah.
And for the while, for as long as the website is still live, you can also visit us at www.thefinalgaze.com. We are also available on all podcasts, almost all of them. We're on the big major ones, so you can find us on Apple Podcasts, iTunes. I think they're the same thing. I don't know. Spotify.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, Spotify. Podbean. We're also going to be on YouTube. We have our video recording this time, so you'll see us there. And oh gosh, Toby did a wonderful model pose, and now that's going to be the screen cap there.
Damn it!
He was all like,
Fuck.
So, our YouTube video our YouTube channel's been getting a few views, like around maybe 20 or 20 views or so. So somebody out there is watching us. So, whoever you are, thank you. But yeah, so join us next week for The Evil Dead 2.
I'm looking forward to it. I've only seen Evil Dead 2 once. I've seen Evil Dead 1 several times. I've only seen the second one once.
Okay, and that was...
So I'm looking forward to...
That was before the remake then, huh? Mm-hmm. And wow, I'm very interested to see how you handle... Well, I know you'll handle it, but I'm wondering how you will react to Army of Darkness.
I'm excited for that one, I think, the most, because I haven't seen it, and I just would have heard, so...
I think
we'll see. We'll get there.
I think it's rated PG-13.
I do know that it, from what I've heard, is not heavy on the gore.
No, so. And it definitely does carry over the slapstick element from the second one. So, and that'll be our 50th episode, by the way, Army of Darkness. So we're coming up on 50 episodes. So join us. I don't know. We'll do something cool. I don't know.
Something. We should do a drinking game or something.
Just okay.
We should do a drunk review. Oh my god, we're
on
just
Army of Darkness
sloshed.
Oh, you've heard it here, folks. 50th episode. We're not gonna get drunk during the episode. We're gonna start the episode drunk.
Yes.
50th episode. It's gonna be a shit show, but it's gonna be a hilarious shit show. So join us on Army of Darkness 2 weeks from now when we cover the movie completely fucking wasted.
So excited.
Mm-hmm. But all right. My name is Harrison.
And I'm Toby. And we are the Final Gaze. I'm not good at that, Harrison.
It's okay. We got this now. 50 episodes, you gotta start doing it more.
You should keep that in.
We will. Goodbye.